All right, what's going on, everybody? It's DAYYY coming at you with another video. You know what time it is. It's time to bring on the boxing. Today we're going to be talking about Terence Crawford and Keith Thurman in a potential matchup. Obviously we want the Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence fight to happen, but negotiations, everything. I feel like that fight is still far from being made, even though we've heard for 2-3 months now that the fight was under negotiations, or the fight was definitely going to happen. But it's getting to the point where if we keep waiting for this fight, these guys are going to end up being inactive for a good amount of time. And Terence Crawford hasn't fought in a while either. I'd like to see him get back in there. How would you guys feel about a potential matchup with Keith One-Time Thurman? Keith One-Time Thurman coming off that win over Mario Barrios. It was a decent win. It definitely wasn't the best Keith Thurman we've seen. We saw him hurt to the body against, he took his mouthpiece out again, holding it. So it kind of, when you have your mouthpiece in, I guess it clogs your airway, and he removed it. He gets hit to the body a lot, and his tolerance for the body shots aren't good, and it's become one of his biggest weaknesses and vulnerabilities that a lot of fighters, I think, will take advantage of. I think if a Terence Crawford and Keith Thurman fight happened, I have it as a 50-50 fight, just because Keith Thurman has that explosive power that he still possesses even after the injury, even after the long layoffs. He still has that explosiveness. Just because he lost to Manny Pacquiao, there's no shame in losing to a guy like Manny Pacquiao, 8-division world champion. It's just one of those guys that he's a tough code to crack. And not to discredit Keith, but he was hurt in that fight multiple times. It was a pretty close fight. Some people had it a draw. I still gave it to Manny by a split, so I think that decision was correct. But Terence Crawford's been chasing Manny Pacquiao, or at least that's what he says, and it's easier said than done. Manny had a lot of names that a lot of guys were calling him out, so it's hard to get to everybody. To say he was ducking Terence Crawford, I don't know about that. It's just it would have been a tough fight for Manny for sure. I'm not down in that. I'm just saying I don't think Manny's backing down from anybody. He was willing to fight Errol Spence at the age of past 40. So to say he's scared, I wouldn't say that. But a Terence Crawford and Keith Thurman fight would definitely interest me, just because of the stylistic matchup. Styles make fights, and Keith Thurman has that explosiveness, and Terence Crawford has that kind of adjust on the fly type of fight. He fights, I feel like he fights every fight different, but the same result. He stops guys. Sometimes he'll start out slow, and then in the later rounds he figures the guy out and kind of puts him away. But a guy like Keith Thurman, he kind of keeps that pace on. He likes to keep the pressure on you. He looks for the knockout. He has heavy hands. It would be interesting to see that matchup, just because Terence Crawford also has that kind of snap, that stinging power. They're different. I think Keith Thurman kind of has more of that Errol Spence thump. So I feel like that fight would be telling a lot. Even an Errol Spence and Keith Thurman fight, if we can't get the fight right away, the Errol Spence and Terence Crawford fight right away, why not have that fight? Because I feel like people would still watch. Obviously, we want to make that fight happen, but they have a lot to sort out before that even takes place. So I know it's the fight they want. Neither of them tends to stay at 147 for so much longer, but I'd rather see these guys active than not. So I'm still optimistic that the fight will happen. I just think it's going to still take some time to get through the negotiation process and get each fighter the money they want and deserve. That's just how the game of boxing is. But hopefully it works out, because that's just a mega fight. That's the fight in boxing that needs to get made. If we could have a timeline, if the fight would take another 2 years to happen or something, then why not set up a Keith Thurman and Terence Crawford fight for the fans? Because we want to see Terence Crawford back in there. We just saw Errol Spence. We need to see Terence Crawford, see what he's working with. Obviously, he had the impressive stoppage win over Sean Porter, but we need to see more as the fans. So why not put him in there with Keith Thurman or a Jaron Ennis? So let me know in the comments what you guys think. What should be the move for Terence Crawford if he can't get the Errol Spence fight as soon as they anticipated? Who would you want to see him fight? Keith Thurman, a Jaron Ennis, a Virgil Ortiz? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the constant support, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.